Welcome back to the EMT Spots Blood Pressure Podcast. I'm Samuel Harrison.
And I'm Olivia Harper.
As always, we're diving into something today that's been making headlines. The link between high blood pressure and COVID-19.
Yeah,
Honestly, when I first saw this UK study, I was kind of surprised by the findings.
I can see why. Finding out that folks with high blood pressure could have a 22% higher risk of hospitalization or even death from COVID is definitely concerning.
Right, 22%. That's a huge jump. Makes you wonder what's really going on. Is it the high blood pressure itself, or is it maybe the medications people are taking for it?
That's the big question. And while researchers are still trying to figure it all out, there are some interesting theories we can look at. One early idea was that certain hypertension medications might actually weaken the immune system, making people more vulnerable to a severe COVID infection.
That makes sense. But I've heard that stopping those meds is a bad idea.
Oh, absolutely. Stopping any prescribed medications suddenly can be dangerous. And in this case, there's no proof that doing that would actually improve COVID outcomes.
So if it's not the medications, could high blood pressure itself be directly affecting the immune system?
It's a real possibility. Think of it this way. High blood pressure puts a lot of stress on your heart and blood vessels, and your cardiovascular system plays a big role in immunity.
Okay, I see the connection. If your cardiovascular system is already strained from high blood pressure, it might not be as ready to fight off a virus like COVID. But what about the other way around? How does COVID affect people who already have high blood pressure?
That's important. We all know about the breathing problems COVID can cause, especially pneumonia, but a lot of people don't realize it can also really impact the cardiovascular system.
So it's not just a lung thing, it's a whole body problem.
Exactly. If you have high blood pressure, your heart is already working harder to pump blood. This constant strain can weaken it over time, making it more susceptible to damage.
And then COVID comes along and makes things worse.
Yeah, the virus can cause inflammation and even damage the heart muscle itself.
Yeah.
And then there's the issue of plaque buildup in the arteries.
Plaque, like in the toothpaste commercials?
Well, not exactly, but it's a similar idea. Plaque is a buildup of cholesterol fat and other stuff that can clog your arteries and restrict blood flow. People with high blood pressure are more likely to have plaque buildup, and COVID-19 seems to increase the risk of that plaque rupturing.
And a ruptured plaque. That doesn't sound good.
It's not. It can block an artery and cause a heart attack.
This is all pretty serious. It sounds like knowing how to protect yourself, especially with high blood pressure, is super important.
You're right. Prevention is key. And there are things you can do to minimize your risk. Maybe the most important is
Vaccination.
Exactly. Getting vaccinated and staying up to date with boosters is still one of the best ways to protect yourself from getting seriously ill, hospitalized, or even dying from COVID-19. And this is especially important for people with underlying conditions like high blood pressure.
So vaccination is number one. What else should we be doing?
Taking your prescribed medications is key.
Don't skip those pills.
Right. And don't change your dosage without talking to your doctor. Consistency is so important when you're managing high blood pressure. Another helpful thing is home monitoring.
You mean checking your blood pressure at home?
Yes. Get a good blood pressure monitor and check it at home. That way you can keep an eye on things and catch any problems early. And of course, we can't forget about lifestyle.
Here comes the diet and exercise talk.
It's more like a friendly reminder. A heart-healthy diet and regular exercise can make a huge difference.
So lots of fruits and veggies, get moving
And stay hydrated. Dehydration can actually raise your blood pressure, so make sure you're drinking enough water throughout the day.
Good advice. But what if someone starts having COVID symptoms? When should they see a doctor?
That's a great question. And there are some warning signs you should know about. If you have trouble breathing, chest pain, confusion, disorientation, or you notice a bluish color in your lips, face, or nails, those are all red flags and you need to get help right away.
Those sound serious?
They are. Don't wait. Call your doctor or go to the nearest hospital.
And if you can't get there yourself?
Ask family, friends, neighbors, anyone who can help. It's also always a good idea to keep your medical records organized and easy to find, just in case.
Good advice. So to recap, having high blood pressure might not make you more likely to get COVID?
But it can definitely make the illness worse and increase the risk of problems, especially for your heart and blood vessels.
It sounds like the takeaway message today is
Be proactive. Take steps to manage your blood pressure. And stay on top of your health, especially these days.
great advice. We'll be back right after this with more on high blood pressure and COVID. Stay tuned. Welcome back to the EMTSpot's Blood Pressure Podcast, where we're really digging into the connection between high blood pressure and COVID-19. Before the break, we were talking about things you can do to protect yourself, like vaccination and taking your medications.
Yeah, those everyday things can make a big difference to your health, but I think it's also important to think about the bigger picture.
Okay, what kind of bigger picture are we talking about?
This connection between high blood pressure and how serious COVID-19 can be, it's not just a one-off thing. It shows how important our cardiovascular health is for fighting off infections and illnesses in general.
So it's not just about COVID, it's about being ready for anything.
Exactly. Taking care of your heart and blood vessels is just a basic part of being healthy.
That makes sense. A healthy heart means a stronger body overall. So you're better able to handle whatever comes your way, whether it's a virus, an infection, or just the stress of daily life.
Right, and this is something everyone can benefit from. It doesn't matter what your health is like right now.
You mean even if you don't have high blood pressure, this is still important?
Absolutely.
Why?
Everyone can benefit from good, heart-healthy habits. It's like building a strong foundation for a house. The stronger the foundation, the better it can handle storms and other problems.
Okay, I get it.
Yeah.
Let's talk about those habits. Besides the diet and exercise stuff we talked about earlier, what else can people do to keep their heart healthy?
Managing stress is a big one.
Oh, yeah. Stress. I know, I feel it.
It's a real thing. Chronic stress can raise your blood pressure and put strain on your heart. It's like you're constantly pushing a car engine without giving it a break. Eventually, something's going to break.
So finding healthy ways to deal with stress is really important.
For sure, whether it's mindfulness exercise, spending time in nature, or connecting with loved ones, find what works for you and make it a priority.
I think a lot of people don't realize how much stress affects their physical health. It's easy to separate the two, but our minds and bodies are connected.
Absolutely. And it's not just about reducing stress, it's also about focusing on positive emotions.
Like joy, gratitude, laughter, those sorts of things.
Yes. Research shows that positive emotions can actually be good for your heart.
I like that idea. Watch a funny movie. Hang out with people who make you laugh. But on a more serious note, let's change gears a bit. We've talked about prevention, but what about people who've already had COVID? Are there any long-term heart risks they need to know about?
That's a really good question, and researchers are still looking into it. What we do know is that some people who have recovered from COVID have some heart-related symptoms that stick around, even after the infection is gone.
Like what kinds of symptoms?
Things like fatigue, shortness of breath, chest pain, even heart palpitations. It's like the virus leaves a mark on the heart.
So you mean even after you're over the virus, it can still affect your heart?
It seems like that for some people, and we don't fully understand why. It's possible the virus causes some lasting inflammation or damage to the heart muscle, or it might even trigger an autoimmune response that affects the cardiovascular system.
This is all pretty serious. It sounds like there's still a lot we don't know about the long-term effects of COVID on the heart.
There is. But the good news is that research is moving quickly, and we're learning more every day. In the meantime, there are things people can do to protect themselves and help their recovery.
Okay, so what should people who's had COVID and are worried about their heart be doing?
The most important thing is talk to your doctor. They can figure out your risk factors and suggest screenings or tests to make sure there aren't any big problems.
So don't ignore those lingering symptoms.
Exactly. It's always better to be safe than sorry. And if there is a problem, early detection and treatment are so important. And besides medical care, there's a lot you can do yourself to support your heart health.
Like getting back to those heart-healthy habits we talked about.
Yes. A good diet, regular exercise, stress management. These things help your body heal naturally and strengthen your heart. It's all about giving your body what it needs to recover and be healthy.
It's like giving your heart some extra care after it's been through something tough.
Right. And speaking of care, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll talk about some really cutting-edge research and new therapies that offer hope for people with heart problems. Stay with us.
Welcome back to the EMT-Spot's Blood Pressure Podcast. It's been a really interesting look at the connection between high blood pressure COVID-19 and how to keep our hearts healthy.
It has. We've talked about a lot, the risks, ways to prevent problems, and even the possible long-term effects of COVID-19 on the heart.
Yeah, and we can't forget about those heart-healthy habits. Good diet, regular exercise, and managing stress. But before we finish up, I'd love to hear more about those cutting-edge therapies you mentioned. What does the future look like for people with heart problems?
Well, the field of regenerative medicine is really exciting right now. Scientists are making huge progress in developing therapies that might actually be able to repair or even replace damaged heart tissue.
Regenerative medicine. That sounds like something out of a sci-fi movie. Is this for real?
It might sound that way, but it's becoming more and more real. Think about it. What if we could regrow heart muscle that's been damaged by a heart attack, a virus, or even the long-term effects of high blood pressure.
That would be amazing. But how does it work? What are the tools in this regenerative medicine toolbox?
There are a few different things researchers are trying. One of the most promising involves using stem cells. These cells are pretty amazing. They can turn into different kinds of cells, including heart cells.
So you could inject stem cells into a damaged heart, and they would become new heart muscle cells, helping to fix the damage.
Exactly. It's like giving the heart its own internal repair team. And it's not just stem cells. Researchers are also using gene editing to try and fix genetic problems that can lead to heart disease.
Gene editing. That's getting into some serious science.
It is. But it could completely change how we treat heart disease. And then there's 3D bioprinting.
3D bioprinting. Wait, are we talking about actually printing a new heart?
That's the big goal. And even though we're not there yet, researchers have already been able to bioprint working heart tissue in the lab.
That's incredible. It sounds like the future of heart health is looking pretty good. But realistically, when will these therapies be available for everyone?
Well, a lot of these therapies are still being researched and tested. It takes time to make sure they're safe and effective before they can be used to treat patients.
So it's not like I can go to my doctor tomorrow and ask for a stem cell injection.
Not just yet. But the progress is amazing. And it's definitely something to be hopeful about. And in the meantime, there are things we can do now to take care of our hearts.
That's a great point. So as we wrap up this deep dive, what are the key takeaways you want our listeners to remember?
First, know your numbers. Get your blood pressure checked regularly. And if it's high, work with your doctor to get it under control.
Right. And don't forget those heart-healthy habits.
Exactly. A healthy diet, regular exercise, managing stress, getting enough sleep. All of these things are so important for keeping your heart healthy and strong.
And for anyone who's had COVID, pay attention to any heart-related symptoms that stick around. And talk to your doctor if you're worried.
Yes. Early detection and treatment can make a big difference.
This has been a fascinating journey into the world of blood pressure, COVID-19, and what the future holds for heart health. Thank you for being here today and sharing your expertise with us.
It was my pleasure.
And to everyone listening, thank you for joining us on the EMTSpot's Blood Pressure Podcast. I'm Samuel Harrison.
And I'm Olivia Harper.
We hope you found this deep dive informative and helpful. Remember to subscribe to our podcast, leave a comment, and share this episode with your friends and family. Until next time, take care.